What's up, Philly? Robert Barr, filibuster.com. Philadelphia business news in the raw. Beautiful day here in Philadelphia. It snowed overnight, so we have a nice white rooftops and lawns, and it looks really pretty. So I spent some time staring out the window and kind of reflecting a little bit. And while I was doing that, I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts. It's This Week in Tech with Leo Laporte. And they made mention that any remnant space left over from the Super Bowl for advertising was to be given to one of the branches of the armed services, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, whichever one it was. And it got me thinking about a post that I wanted to do last week, which was, I read it in the paper that the Army is installing or has installed a combat simulator in the Franklin Mills Mall. And I've been thinking for the last week since I read the article, what return on investment the Army is expecting with these combat simulators. And I know they're putting up a number of them throughout the country. And I know I've read that enlistment rates are up, and that's obviously due to a poor economy. People are trying to escape that by going into the military. But I spent time in the military. I was in the Army. I was in the infantry. And I can honestly tell you that there isn't a combat simulator out there that would make me want to enlist. And I may say that because of hindsight being 20/20. But when you remove the word simulator from combat and realize that there are actual people shooting at you and trying to blow you up, it makes the cool game aspect that they have from the combat simulator a little more realistic. But again, this is a business blog, so I'm just wondering what the Army expects to get or gain, what the return is from these simulators. And do you have an opinion on the Army putting these simulators in, a pretty high, a target-rich environment like a mall? Let's face it, where do kids hang out these days? They hang out in malls. They're either locked in their rooms on the computer or they're at malls. So, just like you would be apprehensive with turning your kid on to, just walking them into the recruiter's office, how do you feel about you drop them off at the mall and they happen to find their way into an Army combat simulator, and the next thing you know, they're saying to you, "Mom, Dad, I want to join the Army because I played this cool game." For the Army, it's got to be a boon. You have impressionable young men and women in a scenario where exactly where you want them. You want them to think that the Army is going to be just like this. Obviously, we know that it's not, but it's got to work to a degree that the Army is willing to put these simulators in multiple locations. So what do you think? Do you think that the Army is kind of poaching? Do you think that it's a smart business move for the Army to install these in malls and in other areas where they know, obviously, where teenagers are going to hang out? Or do you think that they should kind of lay back a little bit and go back to some of the more traditional ways to recruit? Because let's face it again. Recruiting in the Army, it's a business. You need to keep your numbers up, and it's for one of the most important reasons that you need to maintain your numbers, and that's national security. The bottom line there is protecting this country. So, what do you think? I'm interested in hearing.